And Dolphins are reportedly in serious negotiations for Houston quarterback Deshaun Watson. Watson has not appeared in a game this season. The Texans might be budging on their previous high asking price before the NFL's trade deadline on November 2nd. So this is coming up. Shannon, do you see Deshaun going to the Dolphins before the deadline in 12 days now?
I see him. I believe it's going to happen, Skip. I really do. Top 5 quarterbacks, and that's what many regarded him after last season, Skip, as a top 5 quarterback.
No doubt.
And these guys at 25 years of age don't become available often.
Never, ever.
Yeah, you're right. I've never seen a quarterback of this caliber, this proven. Now, Brett Favre became available, but Brett Favre was not what he wasn't. Right, he wasn't Brett Favre yet. So for a guy of this caliber, an All-Pro to become and a Pro Bowl player to become available at this age, unless you got a Mahomes or Justin Herbert, Skip, you're going to be willing to move heaven and earth in order to get him. If Patrick Mahomes became available, the Jacksonville Jaguars would get off of Trevor Lawrence. If he became available, they would get off of Zach Wilson. These guys don't become available. So the opportunity for you to get one, and you have him under contract for the next 4 or 5 years, Skip, I don't know how you pass that up. Now, we don't know what's going to happen on the legal side of it.
We do not.
We don't know what the NFL is going to do with their response for all of this coming out. But the Miami Dolphins says we're willing to whatever happens, we want it to be him to be on our team. And Skip, for you to make a move like this, the owner's already signed off on it. The owner says, I go get it. This ain't no head coach or no general manager. When you're dealing with something like this, Skip, if it was a clean, even if Deshaun Watson was pristine, he had none of this behind him. When you move in with this kind of money, you run it to the owner first. Now, when you're dealing with what Deshaun possibly has going on off the field, you absolutely run it by the owner. And for them to have progressed this far, and John McClain, who's been in Houston for 1,000 years, who's as plugged in as anybody with the Astros, the Texans, or whatever sports team might be in Houston.
Especially the Texans.
John McClain knows about it.
He knows.
Oh, that ain't the John that jumped out
not the guy.
That ain't him. Okay. I'll just say.
If it were that John McClain, he wouldn't be reporting on sports.
So for me, Skip, look, I think this is for me. I don't see how the Dolphins not do this deal. And I don't really think it's an indictment of Tua. It's that the mere fact that, Skip, you got a guy that's a top 5 guy last year who had done what he had done. And, Skip, think about what he did last year with no D-Hop and no resemblance of a running game. And he was able to still put, if I'm not mistaken, he led the league in passing. You got to, Skip, you got to pull the trigger. For lack of a better word, I know it's cliche, but you got to make this happen. And I believe the owner, Stephen Ross, he wants to win, and he believes this guy gives him the best chance of winning. So I believe it's going to happen, Skip. I really do.
In the end, as you well know, in the National Football League, it's all about winning.
Yes, and talent trumps all.
All. Well, in this case, Pro Football Talk has reported that owner Stephen Ross, you referred to, wants his team to acquire Deshaun Watson despite the 22 civil lawsuits accusing him of, obviously, sexual misconduct and assault. Also pointing out that 10 of those accusers have filed criminal complaints against him. Well, you know how I feel about this. I used to be the biggest Deshaun Watson fan back to those 2 games against Alabama for the championship at Clemson.
Correct.
And he nearly won the first one, and he did win the second one. It was kind of all by himself, and I've never seen anything quite like it on the college football stage. And to your point, Pro Football Focus ranked him last year the 2nd best performer in the league with no D-Hop. Just extraordinary. Yet, the more I read about all of these lawsuits, the worse it seemed to get. And I don't know what the outcome is going to be, but I lost a lot of respect for Deshaun because there's the accusations were some sick stuff. And so it's up to Stephen Ross to sign off on this. It's up to his family to say, yeah, we can live with this, whatever the outcome of this is going to be, and we still don't know the outcome.
It seems like he's already signed off on his skill.
It sounds like it because winning trumps all. So if they have to keep Deshaun on ice, McClain's first report also pointed out sources close to the situation believe Watson will not be suspended. Well, Is that because they're looking at this whole year as a suspension already because he's not been able to play? He still shows up every day for the Texans so he can collect his check. And he works out at the facility by himself. He does attend the meetings, but as you know, he does not dress for the games. So he's there sort of in body only, but not in spirit.
Mentally,
he's checked
mentally
out.
he's not there.
Okay, so are all these, is it going to become a criminal issue at some point? I don't know. Is he going to go to jail? He could. Will he not be suspended? I don't know. So this is huge ifs, but he is so gifted. And he has performed at such a high level as opposed to Brett Favre in Atlanta, as you pointed out.
Skip, I think the thing is what Stephen Ross is saying, whatever happens to him, I want it to be on my watch because I know eventually he's going to get an opportunity to come back, as opposed to him getting suspended on somebody.
So I assume they're willing because the Texans were asking for 3 firsts and 2 seconds.
They were never going to get that, even with a pristine resume.
But even if you give the sun and the moon for Deshaun right now, you're just looking to the future saying, hey, if we get him in 2 years from now, I'll take him in 2 years.
And if I'm not mistaken, Skip, they have 2 first-rounders, but the Eagles own the first one, which would be number 2. But they own, if I'm not mistaken, San Francisco's, which would be number 12. So
they've got some firepower.
And so obviously you're going to do you take Tua back in return to have a quarterback, or do you say, you know what, no, y'all keep Tua, and we got the second pick, and we're going to go in the draft? Is there a quarterback that's going to be worthy of the number 2 pick, Skip? Because you're probably going to want, or they're going to want both of those. Skip, but they're not getting 3 1s and 2 2s or all that other stuff. I believe maybe 2 1s, or maybe a first. That second pick looks like what would be the second pick in the draft, and maybe a 2 and a 3.
Okay, I stand by what I told you about Tua before the draft. I know you love him. I like him as a kid. He seems like a great kid. I just don't buy him as a big-time playoff caliber quarterback. He's just too small. He's too fragile. He doesn't have the arm strength. He sucks it up and guts it out. He did okay. I watched the whole Jacksonville game the other day because I was on the treadmill the whole time. But they ended up, as you know, losing to the winless Jaguars in London. And he had spurts where he was okay. He had a QBR 62. But if you look at his overall body of work, even this year, I know he's been hurt. But if he qualified, he'd be 26th in QBR, and Pro Football Focus ranks him the 23rd best quarterback on just overall grade so far this year. I just don't think he's that guy. And I think after they lost to Jacksonville and fell to 1-5, after some people had them in the playoffs.
Considering how well they played last year, because they barely missed. They were 10-6.
10-6 last year. So at 1-5, I'm just guessing Stephen Ross sat back up in his suite in London at Wembley and said, you know what? I've seen enough. Like, we just got to plunge on this and just bite the bullet on what's going to happen.
I think a lot of times, Skip, when you make an enormous sum of money, you like winning, you get used to winning. Stephen Ross strikes me as a guy that wants to win. All this $6 billion or whatever he's worth, Skip, is not doing me any good. I own a franchise, and we're not even coming close to winning. And I believe the reason why we're not close to winning is because, why, Skip? Our quarterback play. I believe if we get a quarterback play, we'll be in play. Because Skip, I mean, Josh Allen's not going anywhere for the next decade. So everything else is fluid in that division. I mean, if Deshaun Watson, is he better than Mac Jones? Yeah. If all things equal, hell, I'll take Deshaun Watson over Josh Allen.
Okay, so we have another James Harden type situation in Houston where it's just you're not going to get enough back.
No.
And now that he's been devalued because of all the cases filed against him, it's going to leave you nowhere. And if you get Tua back, I just don't think you're going anywhere. Is Tua better than Davis Mills? Maybe a little bit, but not a lot. I don't think it's a lot. I really don't. Davis Mills has had some moments. He's pretty good, actually. But is he a starting quarterback? I don't think so. So is Tua going to take you to the promised land in Houston? No.
But here's the thing, though, Skip. With those draft picks, you get an opportunity with your draft picks. If you take the draft picks from Miami, you get an opportunity to start the process of rebuilding your team in order to be a championship caliber team. I think this is the only route that they can go. Deshaun seems to be dug in, even though he's in attendance. He goes to meetings. He works out. I guess he's running scout team for once he's out there at practice, Skip. But I think he's made up his mind that he no longer wants to be there. They've made up their mind. They will no longer want him there. So the best thing to do is before the trade deadline, which is what, November 2nd, if I'm not mistaken, is to go ahead and move on.
I read that he's not running anything. I don't even think he's doing scout team, but whatever.
Does he even go out to practice?
I don't think so.
Oh, wow.
I think he just stays and works out on his own elsewhere in the facility.
Right. Okay.
I think so. He just stays to himself, which is a pretty sad situation.
Right.
By the way, he does have a no-trade clause, so he has to sign off on Miami.
No question. Yes.
But every report is he's good with going to the Dolphins.
Yeah. Because they ain't got no state tax just like Texas, so I didn't get my money.
That is correct. And next year, his extension kicks in and he gets to $35 million.
Right.
Okay.
Which is
it's actually a pretty good deal.
It's a very good deal.
Yep, I agree.
Considering where these salaries are going for the quarterback, Skip.
Yep.
Within the next 3 years, they're going to be a $50 million quarterback. I don't know is it going to be Kyler? Because you got Lamar Jackson coming up, Skip. I believe he's going to jump Patrick Mahomes 45.
Maybe.
And then Kyler's after him.
Yep.
So you gonna have Deshaun at $35 million when you got the top guys making $45, $50 million. You're like, I got a pretty good deal.
Well, Brady deserves $50 million.
Ah, man, ain't nobody talking about Brady. He had his opportunity to get this money.
And I know he'll just say, I'll take whatever you give me. I don't care.
He's resentful. He had opportunities like, hold on. I gave all these discounts. I gave you all these discounts.
That was
and y'all won't give me no say in the
Well, he gave Tampa a big hometown discount. And
they gave him a bunch of say in Tampa.
And they got back a Super